Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Movie Nights Roundtable Live. It is I, Dalton Burdett, with the amazing Nicholas Iricchio. Nick, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you, buddy?
Doing good, doing good. Guys, we have a hell of a show for you today. As some of you know, Cinemacon is going on right now, and actually, as soon as we're done filming, the Warner Brothers panel starts. So we won't be able to get to the Warner Brothers news tonight, but we will get to it on the Friday stream along with the Disney news, because I believe that comes out Thursday. So we're going to be talking about the Lionsgate presentation that happened today, the big Sony presentation that happened last night. We also have some off-the-top stuff to go over, and of course the box office is going to be a lot of fun. But before we dive into any of that, a couple of fun things for you guys. One, I finally got rid of the goddamn thumbs up emoji things. You will not see that shit anymore. Life is so good. Two,
was it just a button? How difficult was it?
so
Was it a
I literally had to YouTube, how the hell do you turn this off? And it was a quick thing, but where it's placed is so dumb. Like, I was like, why is it like that? Like, and I have to do it for each app. Like, if I go into Zoom, I have to turn it off there as well, because it defaults. Why does it default like that? I don't know. I'm going off now.
Yeah, it's sort of a thumb rule.
Yes, but another thing I want to point out is I've also figured out how to get the live chat to appear on the screen, like so. So if any of you want to chat or talk throughout the stream with us, go ahead and let us know. And as I monitor it, I will put it on the screen and read it out for everybody, and you'll be included as part of the show with us, which is what I've always wanted, and we finally got it. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and if I miss something in the live chat, Nicholas, if something sits there for too long and, I don't bring it up, remind me to, and I will, although I have it monitored. It should be good to go. Everybody, with that down, 2 minutes into this thing, let's actually dive in to our stories, and we're going to kick things off with a rumor. Remember rumors of the Roundtable? Remember when that was a thing?
I do. That was a good segment. Good segment.
I liked it. We have a roundtable rumor for you today. As you guys know, anyone who watches this channel knows that I am a massive Doctor Who fan, and Nicholas is a big Doctor Who fan as well, Whovians, if you will. And there's been a lot of speculation going on about the future of Doctor Who, particularly with the deal with Disney and all that, because we know Season 2 is coming out just here in a couple weeks. And, we're curious about the future beyond that. Is Disney going to cancel it? Is BBC just going to keep it? What about Ncuti Gatwa's place in all this? Because the scheduling is weird and he's a rising star. Well, what's going to happen? What do we do here? Well, there's a rumor going around. Oh, I messed that up completely. There's a rumor going around, if you give me a second, where essentially Daniel RPK, who is in this space, all the time, believes that there is a brand new rumor. I'm stalling here as I figure things out, but we're figuring it out. Essentially, here's what's going down. Ncuti Gatwa might be leaving, which is something that I would obviously hate to see. We almost had it. There we go. We would obviously hate to see if Ncuti Gatwa was leaving. And right now, according to Daniel RPK, in this rumor, because again, trades haven't confirmed it, he is leaving. And he gave some details on his Patreon where he stated that Ncuti Gatwa does not want to return for Series 3 as he wants to pursue a larger career in Hollywood, and that he shot a regeneration scene earlier this year. The Whoniverse is in limbo due to the exit and the show not being a quote-unquote smash hit, even though it did prove that people are still interested in the show. I continued the quote from his Patreon. Now, let me also clarify, because I've already been hit with shit on this. This is not an April Fool's joke. I'm going to cut to my close-up. I hate that shit. I hate that shit when it comes to movie news so goddamn much. This is not an April Fool's joke. That's not what we're doing. And this is a report from Daniel RPK that came out yesterday. Now, with that down, Nicholas, obviously, I don't want to see Ncuti Gatwa leave Doctor Who. Again, this is just assuming the rumor is true for a moment. This is just a rumor. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see Ncuti Gatwa leave Doctor Who at this moment. Eventually, every Doctor leaves, but I really started to get into him in Season 1, even when the episodes weren't as great, like towards the end of the season. He was still a shining light. The Season 2 trailers look great. He brings a lot of energy. He's a great actor. Mm-hmm. I love him. But I also understand if he wants to go because the shooting schedule, and like they don't know if season 3 is going to even happen yet because they said Disney won't confirm to it until after season 2 airs, which just leaves a lot of things in limbo for Ncuti Gatwa because he's like, hey, I want to go do other things. My career's taken off, and I'm not contracted to do this other season yet. So like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Is kind of the vibe. It seems like. Now, granted, I hope we find out tomorrow that this is all bullshit and he's staying for season 3. That'd be great. I would love it. However, I did want to get your thoughts first. Do you think there's any validity to this rumor? And if there is, how do you feel about it?
I think it all makes sense. As for the validity, I guess it's something we're just gonna have to wait to see. But I think in terms of just Doctor Who, I think Ncuti Gatwa was a fantastic doctor. It's sort of the thing with like Jodie, right, where some of the writing is sort of a little iffy here, but they are giving an excellent performance as the Doctor. I think that Ncuti Gatwa encompasses what the Doctor is in a very big way, and that sort of hope and optimism, and especially what they did sort of with the David Tennant return of like, oh, I'm you, but I'm unburdened, right? We're sort of doing therapy.
I'm better.
Backwards. Yeah. I thought it was a great way to sort of reboot the character and the ideals and everything like that. But I know that the Disney show, while was popular, but I don't think it's the smash success that they were hoping that it was going to be. And, Ncuti Gatwa really broke out on that show, Sex Education. He was sort of a breakout star from that, a fan favorite character. And then he had a small supporting role in Greta Gerwig's Barbie movie. So, it's something that I wouldn't be surprised if he does have a bunch of different offers on the table that are intriguing to a young actor like he is. So I would hate to see him go, but I definitely understand if that's something in the cards.
No, I fully agree with you. By the way, don't judge me if you hear me eating crackers. I'm starving. I barely had dinner. But let's also talk about the Doctor Who not being like a huge smash success. Because it's been relatively successful. And it proved that, like, especially at first, like, dude, going into David Tennant's return for the 60th anniversary and going into season 1, I actually felt hype around Doctor Who online. And I hadn't felt that since Peter Capaldi's, like, second season. Like, it had been a long time since that had happened. And honestly, and this is as someone who's a huge Russell T Davies fan, I think it's no one's fault but his. I think the season overall was good, but a lot of the misdirects and the not even misdirects, because a misdirect is good, but the just intentional, purposefully writing things in a way to then give them payoffs that when you go back and watch it don't track and don't make sense, but also publicly going out and saying like, oh yeah, I did a lot of that stuff because we wanted to have traction on social media. Because there's a social nonverbal contract you make with your audience when you do a thing like that, where you set up a mystery where, hey, for you sticking around week to week, I'm going to pay this off in a satisfying way. And that contract was broken. So going into this season, I barely feel any hype. And I think the trailers look great. I'm personally hyped. I just don't think everybody else is, which is a shame. Personally, that's kind of how I see it. I don't know how about you.
No, I mean, I was really hyped going into the David Tennant era, and then I was really excited to see what Ncuti Gatwa would bring. But to be honest, I haven't seen a trailer for the new series. I didn't even know it was coming out, let alone, what'd you say, April, May, next month?
No, April 12th. Like, it's
April
a couple
12th,
Saturdays away.
News to me, honestly, which is I mean, I'm someone who's chronically online and in the space, and that's a fandom that I follow, but apparently, the marketing push hasn't been, and maybe that's just Disney being a little coy with it or anything, but I'm hoping that they do sort of kick it off in a better way here. But I mean, I think that's right. Is that just because it's still airing on BBC, right? Disney's just doing the
Disney's contract ends after season 2 and after the spinoff, I believe.
What's the spinoff again?
The War Between the Land and the Sea with the Sea Devils and Kate Stewart.
Right. I mean, talk about unnecessary shows, but god damn it if I don't love Kate Stewart.
I'll watch anything Kate Stewart's in.
If Kate Stewart's in it, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to give it a shot, But here's the thing, right? Let's say that this rumor about Ncuti Gatwa leaving is true. And the report that he shot a regeneration scene in pickups, let's say it's all true. Do you think that we get the casting at the end of the regeneration? Have we ever had like a cliffhanger regeneration before where it's like, tune in next week, we don't have him yet?
Well, we've had Fake Out regenerations that were cliffhangers before, but
Yeah,
and it
but
was
not an official one.
and it was rumored that when Chibnall and Jody left, that they shot a scene without an actor, and then Russell came in and then put in David Tennant. That was always rumored. We don't know for sure, but I mean, it's possible it could happen this time, or maybe they just shot his scene a while back, and they're casting right now. Because by the time the finale comes out, it's another 10 weeks after, 8 weeks after it starts airing. So you have some time to get somebody in, do the lines, and do a quick scene before the finale if you want to. That's not bad, by the way.
That is true. But
I do want to highlight an amazing comment from Hannah here that just says Kate Stewart in all caps. Yeah, that's the vibe. That's the vibe for Kate Stewart. That's exactly how we feel. And I love it. I love it. But guys, we have a lot more news stories to get through. But, we could talk about Doctor Who forever. I already went too long about it. It happens. But guys, what do you think? Do you think this rumor is true? Do you think Ncuti Gatwa could be leaving Doctor Who? Or do you think it's all going to be okay, like I'm hoping it is? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next story. And
let us know who you want to see potentially cast as the Doctor. If we're gonna do that. Let's get some fan casting going.
Listen, especially if you're watching live, give me your fan cast. I would love to see the fan cast.
We'll pop them throughout the show.
I'll do a quick one off the top of my head. I would love to see. It'll never happen. Okay, let me emphasize this really quick. This will never, ever, ever happen. Give me Jason Statham as the Doctor. Just because seeing him have to be incredibly intelligent and smart. Don't give me action Jason Statham. Give me the Doctor, but it's Jason Statham. That would be interesting. Of course, I'm half kidding. On a real note, I would love to see somebody again, I'm only thinking of A-listers. I'm not really diving into
Yeah, my head went Simon Pegg, but I know that that's just being unreasonable.
Yeah, I would love, if they went older, I'd love Hugh Grant as the Doctor. If they went younger, I'm trying to think.
Oh no, Bill Nighy if they're going old.
Well, I mean, if they're going old Bill Nighy, but I think that I'm gonna pull it out. Young actor, British or just from the UK, being the Doctor. I choose the guy that plays Ferb.
If only Daisy Ridley wasn't doing another Star Wars.
Oh my God, Daisy Ridley would be an amazing Doctor.
I think she'd be good.
She'd be great. She'd be great. Wait, is Naomi Ackie British? Sorry, I'm
I think so.
Hold on. Here's the comment that we knew was coming from Hannah. Robert Pattinson as the Doctor. Yeah, imagine him going from
Naomi
Batman
Ackie
to Doctor
is
Who.
British. Oh, she was just in Mickey 17, right? That's that actor?
Yes, I think she'd be a great Doctor.
Morgan has texted me, not in the live chat, and just says, Paul Rudd. If only he was British.
I love Morgan. That's such a good answer. Yes, yes, absolutely. But anyway, guys, we have to move on now. We have to move on to the next story. And this is actually a follow-up to a story that we did previously. And that is that we can officially confirm Coyote versus Acme is saved. It has been saved. It has been purchased by Ketchup Entertainment, which is something that you would also talk about, considering that they had The Day the Earth Blows Up. Here are the details that we have. The source is the Deadline article, which is in the description. I highly recommend everybody read. Ketchup Entertainment recently released The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. Estimated sale of $50 million. Theatrical release expected in 2026. That's next year, baby. That is next year. And I just want to briefly comment on this and say, I think this is great. And I think that, Ketchup Entertainment stepping in and doing this is wonderful. I fully am on the belief that the only reason Warner Brothers sold this is because their tax advisors probably you're only going to get $20 million for it. You might as well get some more. And I'm sure that's exactly what happened. But guys, I'm cutting to my single for this. Do not let this fucking movie fail. We can't do it. We can't prove the CEO's right on this movie. When it's marketed, when it comes out, go see it with your money. Let's make it profitable. Let's show them. Let's show them that we wanted to see the movie. And I don't know if you saw this on Twitter today, Nicholas, but the Hundreds of Beavers team tweeted Ketchup Entertainment, and they were like, "We'd love to handle marketing." And I'm like, "Oh my god, please let
Oh,
that
the
team
marketing for that team was fantastic. That was a great
market
movie. That was a
Coyote
very
versus
fun
Acme."
movie.
Yes, it'd be really fun. But I'm gonna cut to you now, man. What are your thoughts on it actually going through, it actually selling? Does this excite you? And please plug the TikTok that you shot about this.
No, I mean it does excite me for sure. I think it excites me. I'm a Looney Tunes fan. I unfortunately haven't had the chance to head out to see the day the Earth blew up yet, but I know that that was something that Ketchup Entertainment had saved. And this is coming off the heels, right? That Max and HBO, Warner Brothers, they had removed all the Looney Tunes content from Max, and I believe they're going to be in the process of demolishing the one building on their lot to make room for some more offices or something on that. So I
Yes.
could see, if Ketchup Entertainment can make money off the Looney Tunes, I could see them, maybe just trying to buy or be that go-to studio for distribution for it. It's just crazy to me though, just the whole concept, right? Because this is the time we've seen fan backlash work for the better, right? We saw it with the Deadpool movie leaks. We saw it with the Zack Snyder Justice League movie. We saw it with the Sonic redesign, which tinfoil hat. I think that was all marketing because there's no way with the turnaround time that they pushed that movie that they could have redesigned Sonic. I think he was always like that.
Hard to
And
disagree, but I like your theory.
I'm going with it. But it's interesting to see when it works and when it doesn't, right? Because we still have, on the DC side, right? We got the Snyder cut. There's still released the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever, and there's still released the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, and also Batgirl is still sitting on a shelf somewhere. And I know there's probably a couple more intricacies with that being a DC and them trying to launch a new DC universe, but it does beg the question, will that eventually come to light or find a sale with something else? I just want to know if they'll make their money back. 50 million is kind of a tough sell, but I think it has the meme and the internet back on its side.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the case, and I think that the public perception and awareness of this film is actually going to help market it as well, because you and I are both big advocates of that movie. Haven't seen the new Looney Tunes movie. It's because I found out it existed like a week ago. Like, that's insane. Like, the marketing, like, almost nobody. I went to work and I said, "Hey, does anyone know that there's a new movie, Looney Tunes movie, in theaters right now?" One person in my office knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's
It's
crazy.
their first animated, like fully animated movie too.
Yeah, they didn't put any money behind that at all, which is a shame. But, guys, again, huge show. We got to move on. We're going to move on to our next story, but please let us know in the comments, what did you think of Coyote vs. Acme finally being saved and coming out next year? Will you watch it? Please watch it. Don't let it fail. And we're going to move on to our next story. And, guys, we're now going to be talking a little bit about the Lionsgate Cinemacon presentation that happened just earlier this morning. And we're not going to obviously do an extensive view of the whole thing because it was like 3 hours long and they covered a lot of stuff. They also had some Neon stuff get covered, which I'll briefly talk about. They showed a trailer for Life of Chuck on the Neon side. They also were talking about a bunch of movies coming out. I believe one movie they talked about was and maybe if I saw this and it was incorrect, please let me know, but I'm pretty sure I saw something about a stoner comedy with Seth Rogen and Kristen Stewart, which, if that's true,
Yeah, that is correct.
amazing. I can't wait to see that. But also, the Lionsgate side, they had a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to get into a really big franchise here in a second, but before we do that, Nicholas, I know that you're a particular fan of the Now You See Me franchise, yes?
That is a well-known fact, yes.
Not only did they announce that Now You See Me 3 is coming out, which we've already known, but the title is now Now You See Me, Now You Don't, which I feel like you've been waiting for forever. Slow clap.
It's the only title it could have been and should have been.
Yes, but on top of that, they also said they're going to be doing Now You See Me 4. So, all kinds of stuff happening in the Now You See Me world. I'm cutting it to you. As a fan of this franchise, what are your thoughts on this?
No, I mean, I think I'm very excited, right? I think after the second installment, a lot of people were waiting for this third installment, and it took forever to get there. The cast was all doing different things, but they did have everyone returning for this third one, and it is being directed by Ruben Fleischer, who did direct the first two. And also now with news of the fourth movie, he is in fact returning to direct as well, which I think is great. I'm a big Ruben Fleischer fan. I really like his style, and I think that his style specifically fits really well with the Now You See Me franchise. And it's always great to see, Woody Harrelson and Dave Franco popping up in things. So, I'm excited. I just want to know what we're going to call the fourth movie now, because Now You See Me, Now You Don't just seems like the perfect title. So I don't know where we go from there.
No, I agree with you. And Nick, this is a movie night's first, what I'm about to do.
Oh, boy.
We just had major breaking news drop.
Uh-oh.
And I have to cut into the Lionsgate thing because we have so much to talk about there. But we need to talk about this right fucking now.
Uh-oh.
So this is an exclusive from the Jeff Snyder newsletter, which we reference all the time on the show. And discussing film, and everybody else is running with it. I'm going to try to get it up on the screen here. I'm going to read this to you, Nick. And I want to get your reaction to this. Are you ready for this?
Hit me with it.
All right. This is real. What I'm about to tell you is real, and you'll understand why I had to stop the show. Okay?
I'm scared. I don't have my PowerPoint.
Ready?
Yep.
A sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is in the works at Netflix. David Fincher is set to direct from a script already written by Quentin Tarantino. Cutting to you for your thoughts, buddy.
What the fuck?
What the fuck is right? This came out of nowhere. This came out of nowhere.
It's going to be a Netflix movie.
Yes. I'm pulling up the Insider newsletter now to read what he said. Sorry that we don't have
Tarantino graphics and everything. So
yeah,
Tarantino
this just happened. This just happened. Yes. So Tarantino has written it.
So does this count as number 10?
Of course not, because that's what he does, right?
I know he wants it to direct. He's just going to keep writing all these movies before he actually directs a 10th movie. I mean, good for David Fincher, man. I love David Fincher. I enjoyed Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Oh boy,
hold on.
What do we got?
Hold on, really quick. Hold on.
There's more.
Before we get to that, somebody, I'm so sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. Ulvi Komisov says, hi, I'm going to put you on the screen. Hello back to you. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
We just had major breaking movie news drop, Mr. or Mrs. Kosminoff. Essentially, here's what Jeff Snyder said, and then here I misread it a little bit, but don't worry, it's still the same. The Playlist broke the news that that David Fincher is directing a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood sequel from Quentin Tarantino's script. Jeff Snyder is reporting exclusively that Leonardo DiCaprio is in talks to come back and play Rick Dalton.
Oh my God, now we need Brad Pitt back too.
And I'm reading the article and it says Brad Pitt is already attached.
Oh, so it's just a straight sequel. What the fuck?
That's what it looks like.
What is the end out of all of Tarantino's movies to get a sequel? I never would have thought Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I guess it's a fairy tale, right? It could be whatever we want. What's next? The JFK assassination?
Oh, bro, hold on. This is crazy. All right, I'm reading from the Jeff Snyder newsletter now. It says,
okay.
You'll recall Tarantino struck a unique deal with Sony that for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that saw him retain the rights to that movie within the copyright reverting to him after 20 years. So in 20 years, Quentin Tarantino would get the rights back. And then he adds, I'm betting that deal involved hanging on to sequel and spinoff rights, which is why they're greenlighting this movie. And he says, now that the Playlist has let the cat out of the bag about the movie existing, I'm told that Leonardo DiCaprio is in talks to join Brad Pitt, who joined on with David Fincher because of their team up. Wow. I'm shocked. I'm shocked by this.
That's interesting. Well, wasn't there rumors, too, that they were going to make the show that Rick Dalton stars in?
Yeah, that was
a thing for a hot minute,
buddy,
right?
I just realized what's probably happening now.
Uh-oh.
Netflix wants Best Picture, baby. Netflix wants it so bad. Oh, they got David Fincher. They got a Tarantino script. They're getting Leo and Brad. They're like, we're fucking going for it.
We will do it.
Going for Best Picture.
I don't care what it costs.
They're going to spend the money. They're going to spend the money, too. They want it so fucking bad. And here's the thing. I know you said you're shocked by this news. I'm not that shocked by the news because I know that Tarantino, on a personal level, loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He considers it like his best work. So naturally, he was going to write some more stuff about it. I know, like you mentioned, the TV show and maybe some books as a spinoff, but this is crazy. And this isn't this is not an April Fool's joke. God, Nick, if we go off the air and this is a fucking April Fool's joke, I will hit somebody. But it's not. The playlist, everybody is reporting that this is true. That is insane.
Get your
dude.
bag, everybody. I mean, listen, I really, like I said, I wasn't, I thought the movie was entertaining. I enjoyed it, but I think the star, the standout of the movie is that relationship and dynamic with Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. So I'm excited to see those characters back again. I really think they were great characters.
Yeah, no, I agree. Oh my God.
That's pretty big. Well, we may have some follow-ups on that.
All right. So Jeff Snyder's also tweeting, update to the story. And he took away the paywall for the story, so that's nice. Since he did that, I'm going to bring it up on the screen.
Oh, he's saying I am blasting this everywhere that I can.
But he's saying that it's a Cliff Booth-centered movie, and that if Leo does negotiate, it'll be for a small part in the movie.
So
here we go.
Okay,
here's the newsletter.
Brad Pitt vehicle.
Yep. There's the article, and this is what I was reading earlier, that the playlist broke the news, and that he can confirm that Leo's in talks to join it. He also adds, it's unclear whether Fincher plans to start production, but separately I understand that DiCaprio still hasn't closed the deal for Evel Knievel, the movie on Netflix that he's doing with Damien Chazelle. Interesting. And that this movie could be in jeopardy if the two sides can't come to an agreement. Oh, shit. Yo, this got juicy. This is cool as hell. We haven't had something like this happen. I love when live shit goes down like this. Guys, what are your thoughts on not only a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood sequel happening, not only the fact that it's directed by David Fincher and that Brad Pitt's coming back, but also the fact that Leonardo DiCaprio is in talks to come back and play Rick Dalton. This is absolutely bonkers shit. Unbelievable. Please let us know in the comments below what you guys think as we go back to the interrupted program of the Lionsgate Cinemacon panel. You might think that there's a franchise that Lionsgate loves other than Hunger Games, which naturally they did talk about the new Hunger Games movie a little bit. But they also have a big money-making franchise, one that's made more money with each film, and that is the John Wick franchise. They made several John Wick announcements, but a big primary one is that they're doing number 5. John Wick 5 is official. They would not comment a single goddamn thing about the story. All they said is that Chad Stahelski and Keanu Reeves are back, and that, quote, the story is complete. Like, they've decided on a story. Please let him be fighting out of hell, please. Here's what we know about the John Wick news.
I made a deal with the devil.
Yes, and also, here's the other news about the John Wick series that are happening. This is all awesome shit. The 5th installment's coming with Keanu Reeves. Donnie Yen is set to both direct and star in a Kane spinoff movie from John Wick 4, which we kind of figured was going to be happening. And here's the cool... Honestly, can I tell you, I'm fucking stoked about this. An anime prequel film with Reeves returning will show Reeves killing his rivals in one night to free himself, a.k.a. the impossible task that's always hinted at in those films. Oh my God. That is amazing. That's amazing. And
I don't even know where to start. There's so much to break down.
There's so much to break down. Here, I'll start it off first.
All right.
Let's talk about, also, really quick, they also showed a clip from Ballerina, and apparently it looks fucking awesome. Like, everyone who saw the Ballerina clip said it looked great. Now, going into this, let's break it down one at a time. Let's do the prequel first. Prequel, all about it. I've read somewhere that it's anime, other places that it's just animation. Whatever it is, I'm down. I want to see it. Give it to me in my veins. This is cool. And it allows them some creativity as well because, like, even if you wanted to see a prequel movie, Keanu Reeves is getting up there in age. He can't pretend that he's the younger John Wick. Like, he can't do it. But animation allows you to free that up so you can. Lovely idea. I'm a big fan. Donnie Yen is... and then let's go to the Donnie Yen news. Kane, great character in John Wick 4. They set something up with him in the end credits anyway. And the fact that he's directing it too tells me that the action scenes are going to be sick as fuck, which we already expected. And then, of course, the big goose egg, John Wick 5. I mean, fuck yeah. Like there's nothing else to really say. Now, granted, I love John Wick 4, and I was completely content with him being dead in that movie. However, if they've agreed to a story, I have faith that it's good. Do I hope that the story is he's fighting out of hell? Of course I do. But whatever the story is, I'm down. Because you know the trailer is going to be so sick when it's just people finding out that John Wick is alive and like the look on their face.
Yeah.
It's going to be so good. Nick, I'm throwing it to you. You got 3 brand new movies announced in this John Wick universe. What are your thoughts on all this?
All right, I'll start like you did, right, with the animated prequel there. I think that's a great idea. I think it's a very interesting story of how he got out and back. And I think that the animation style, they go pretty vulgar and violent in these movies, but I think animation is going to allow them to open up a lot more. And I like the idea that they have so much believability, flexibility with what they're able to animate John Wick doing, because in the 4th movie, he jumps off of like the 4th story of a building onto a car and walks away. So, like, really, anything he does in an animated movie, I'm gonna buy.
Correct.
And I think Keanu Reeves' voice work, he has such a distinct voice. I think it's gonna be great. I'm excited to see it. And that's a way we can get characters like Ian McShane maybe to come back and do a little voice work and everything in that regard. As for the Kane spinoff, very excited. I think Donnie Yen's one of the best martial artists out there, especially martial art actors, and when it comes to action and fighting, and I think him directing it's interesting. I'd have to look and see. I'm not familiar if he's directed in the past before, but I think if you're talking characters, I thought Kane was a great addition to John Wick 4, the cast. I thought he was a very intriguing character. I really like the mystery and the dynamic with his daughter and that whole storyline. And I hope that this does well enough that we get a Tracker spinoff, because I thought Tracker was probably my second favorite character coming out of John Wick 4.
I like Tracker too.
And as for John Wick 5, I mean, also in Kane, like, I'm sure with all the hype of Daredevil Born Again, people are going to go see the Blind Assassin movie. They'll watch 100%. The Blind Lawyer. And then as for John Wick 5, like you said, fuck yeah. I was very satisfied with the ending of him being dead. I hope that they maybe do something to keep that way. Maybe there's, like you said, him fighting his way out of hell would be fun, and sort of a weird take on the action. How do we go from this point to this point? But Keanu Reeves has said in the past, even promo for John Wick 4, he's just like, I think it's done. My knees can't handle it anymore. So the fact that he's coming back, money, I'm sure, is a big factor of it, but I think that John Wick has given him such a revitalization in his career later on in the game. And so I think he would be hesitant to return, as with Chad Stahelski, because, I mean, these movies, the action in John Wick 4, they're going to have to keep upping it, right? So, like, John Wick 5 is a massive undertaking that I don't think they would take lightly. So I think that the fact that they're on the board raises some positives to it. If we were just getting all these spin-offs, or they were like, oh, we're going to do it, but, like, Keanu Reeves is going to be like the mentor and Chad Stahelski's not returning, I'd be like, all right, well, now we're just in the milking phase, which I guess there's an argument to be made that we are, but I'm excited for it.
No, listen, I am too, 100%, 100%. And speaking of spinoffs, I would love a Holly Berry and Those Dogs spinoff. Give me that shit. You know what? Bring back Common. Where's that guy been? Is he dead from John Wick 2? They left it up for debate.
It was the guy in 4 in the fat suit.
Scott Adkins.
Scott Adkins. Give me a Scott. I want to know how he became that underground nightclub kingpin.
Yes. The only thing that makes me sad about the prequel is that no Lance Reddick. That makes me sad. But other than that, I'm really excited about this. Guys, what do you think about John Wick? All of the updates coming from the 5th movie to the prequel to the Donnie Yen spinoff? Let us know in the comments as we move on. But before we move on to our next story, there's a couple quick live chats that I want to point out. Ulvi also adds, good day and good live broadcast. I am Turkish. Oh, very cool. And asks, do you know Turkey? I know the country. I don't know the language. So sorry if I disappoint any multiple bilingual people. I am incredibly not bilingual. That's the only way I know how to describe that. And he also adds from the previous topic, Fincher and Tarantino's collaboration looks like it's going to be very good. Let's hope. We can only hope. That's the best we can do regarding that. But, guys, with that down, let's go ahead and move on to our next story. And Nicholas, Sony had a big presentation yesterday at Cinemacon as well. And yes, we're going to get into all the juicy Spider-Man details. But before we do that, there's another big story from that panel that we have to get into. Maybe more than one. First, let's do this.
Maybe 4.
Huh?
Oh, I thought you were making a joke about the next topic.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, here we go. 4 movies, 1 band, The Beatles. It's been confirmed. This is something that we had talked about on the show a lot previously as this news was dropping. But it is confirmed that Sam Mendes is making 4 Beatles biopics about each Beatle: George Harrison, Ringo Starr, Paul McCartney, and John Lennon. Not only is he making 4 movies, not only are they all coming out in the same year, guys, they're all coming out in the same month, April of 2028. Those unfamiliar with Sam Mendes, he directed films such as 1917 and Skyfall. Paul Mescal will play Paul McCartney in After Sun. He's from After Sun. Harris Dickinson from Iron Claw will play John Lennon. He was also just in Baby Girl with Nicole Kidman. Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things and Fantastic Four will play George Harrison. And Barry Keoghan from Saltburn and Dunkirk, I don't know why I pulled that. Banshees, yes.
Banshees of Inisherin
will play Ringo Starr. They'll all release in April of 2028, and if you follow the Hollywood Reporter article and just look at what people are saying about Cinemacon when Sam Mendes was there and talking about it, he described it as the first bingeable theatrical experience. I have a couple thoughts on this, Nicholas. One, as a movie fan, love this idea. I imagine there'll be, since there's 4 weeks, there'll be 1 each week maybe. I don't know. I'm a fan of that. That's very cool to me. However, I don't know if that's the best financial move. And if they do this, they have to keep these in theaters for 180 days. You gotta let these breathe in the theater and give people time to go see all of them. It'd be really funny if only one did really well, like the John Lennon movie did well, but the rest of them didn't. That would be interesting. But it is a cool experiment. I like the idea of this experiment, and I think that just doing it just shows that Sam Mendes is willing to try new things and kind of push boundaries for filmmaking. I think that's cool in itself. Again, I question how successful it can be. I hope it's successful. It'd be amazing if this made money. We can get more cool things like this. I just am not sure if that will be the case. We'll have to see. I do want to do one more comment on the actual casting. I think it's great casting. I've seen some pushback on the casting. I think it's fake hate. I think this is an excellent cast. I'll watch these. I look forward to it. I'm fascinated by it more than anything. But Nicholas, give me your thoughts, buddy.
No, I think I'm with you, right? Just the scheduling alone and the coordination to be filming 4 movies, I would assume pretty much simultaneously with overlap of when they're interacting and everything.
Yeah, they're going to be shooting for a long time.
That's got to be a nightmare, right? But I think the idea of 4 is interesting. My thing is more of is there enough story? I guess I really don't have much of a history on their upbringing, right? So I'm just sort of well, what does a Ringo Starr biopic look like? Because we have these biopics, right? And it's always the Robbie Williams Monkey one and Elton John, and there are always these movies that are sort of these celebrities that we know have had these struggles with drugs and alcohol abuse and everything. And I know the Beatles dipped into the drugs and the psychedelic and everything in that regard, but just well, what is Ringo's did they all have bad upbringings? So I'm just more interested like that. In terms of the casting, I think it's very solid. I don't really see where the pushback's coming from. People like to hate on Joseph Quinn for some reason. Yeah, they're against everything he's done since Stranger Things, yet everyone loved him on Stranger Things.
Yeah.
I think he's a great Johnny Storm casting, first and foremost. I'll just say that right out the gate. Barry Keoghan, I think, is a great choice for Ringo. I think he's a weird little guy, and so is Ringo. So I think that's great. And as for Harris Dickinson, I saw him in Triangle of Sadness. I don't think I've seen him really in much else.
Okay.
So we'll have to see in that. I have not seen Iron Claw. I've not seen Baby Girl, but He's got the height and the look. I think they all look very good. Like I can see it. Paul Mescal, I think is a great actor as well. I really liked him in After Sun. I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was really great in Gladiator too. A lot of people thought he was miscast in that role. I didn't personally have an issue with him.
Same.
But I mean, yeah, I think are we going to see diminishing box office returns? Is it going to be 1 week, 1 week, 1 week? Are we going to have to, are people going to actually go out and see it? Do we have to have watched them in a particular order? Like, is there going to be some cross-threading where it's like, oh, I didn't see the George Harrison movie? And what order do they release them in, Because I would say John and Paul are the big ones, Is it sort of the ramp up where we start with like a Ringo and a George and just sort of take it from there? I think that would be interesting to see.
Switching to you because I got to switch out my camera battery. But something a question I want to add to you, and this is something that I heard, and I'm not sure if it's true, but I've heard that it's possible that all 4 movies are the same story, just told from each of their perspectives. Would that also interest you?
I could see that. What's that called? Like the Rashomon style, or it's like everyone has a different perspective of the same storyline.
I think so. Yeah.
I think that could be interesting. Like I said, I am curious to see how the box office does perform over each one, right? A competition, at least, see which Beatle makes the most. Because I mean, everyone has their favorite Beatle. Mine's Paul, personally. But I also would say Paul's the biggest one. I mean, John Lennon had probably the most interesting story. I would say an interesting life, especially when you get into like the Yoko Ono stuff and the protests and everything in that regard. But I guess we'll have to see. I think Sam Mendes is a great choice, though, to direct. I think he has a great track record thus far. It's an ambitious undertaking, is really what it is. And I'm curious why all of the month. Why not go like maybe every other month, and you kind of get 6 months of it, 8 months of it, over the year. Are they just worried about you're like, let's just get it out to the people, and then 17 days later they can just watch it at home.
Yeah, well, I think it's part of the bingeable experiment that they're doing, and honestly, I don't think it's going to be a short window. I think you got to keep these. If the experiment is binge it at the theater, you got to keep it in there for a while.
I'm trying to find a tweet. I cannot, for the life of me, locate it. Oh yeah, here we go. So it was just the New York Magazine on Twitter. 4 Beatles, 4 movies, 3 British guys, 1 Irish man. Sam Mendes releasing 4 Beatles movie, all told from the bandmates' unique perspectives. And then someone had retweeted it, and they said, this project is interesting conceptually, but inherently limited by the process of filmmaking. If we're really going to do this right, Paul McCartney's movie would be a rom-com. John Lennon's would be a psychological dramedy. George Harrison's would be a surrealist meditation on faith, and Ringo would be Muppets.
That's so true. That's so true.
So that's what I'm more curious about too. Is it tonally going to feel like one big movie, or are they going to, while it's in the unique perspectives, is one have maybe more of an internal monologue? Is one more music heavy, are we going to be mixing things up stylistically, or is it just all going to be kind of on theme and on in that same vein?
Yeah. No, we'll have to see. But guys, what are your thoughts on the 4 Beatles biopics going on? And is there one you're particularly looking forward to? Are you going to be watching all of them in 2028 in April? Let us know in the comments.
Let us know your favorite Beatle.
Yeah. Who is your favorite Beatle? Mine is, if they were good, I would have one. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. Got him. I did that to mess with you. No, mine's John.
Whoa, now.
So let's move on to the next story here. And we're going to dive into more of the Sony Cinemacon presentation here. Let's get schmovin' and groovin' so we can get to Spider-Man. Let's see. Non-Spider-Man. Dude, I fucking love that up top. New movies confirmed. Resident Evil, directed by Zach Cregger, which we knew, but this is the first time the studio is saying something. Clara and the Sun, directed by Taika Waititi, starring Jenna Ortega, which we also knew, but now it's official. Something we didn't know, Grand Gear, directed by Takashi Yamazaki from Godzilla Minus One. I believe it's his first English-speaking movie. The Breadwinner, starring Nate Bargatze. I'm in. That's all I needed to see. Jumanji 3, technically 4, directed by Jake Kasdan, who directed Jumanji 2 and 3, which that's kind of new. I mean, it was rumored they would do a new one, but that's cool to see. Starship Troopers, directed by Neil Blomkamp, which we went into ad nauseum on a recent episode, which you can find on the channel. And the live-action Legend of Zelda, directed by Wes Ball, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which we also knew, but I think, did they confirm, was it 26 or 27? It's one of those. Anyways, moving on. Here is the recap of the show. They showed footage for Karate Kid Legends, which I heard the footage they showed was really cool. The new trailer is also good. 28 years later, coming in June 2025, 28 years later, The Bone Temple, directed by Nia DaCosta, coming the following year, just like 6 months later, 7 months later, which is very cool. They showed stills but not footage. Caught Stealing, which is a movie directed by Darren Aronofsky, starring Austin Butler and Matt Smith. Sign me the fuck up. And A Big Bold Beautiful Journey, coming in September of 2025. And GOAT, coming February 13, 2026, is an animated film, I believe, revolving around Steph Curry. And I Know What You Did Last Summer, coming in July 18th of 2025. Now, listen, that's a lot of stuff. So much stuff, actually. And I'm going to see if I can get Nicholas back up in here. We'll get him back shortly. That's a lot of stuff, but I kind of want to dive in to a couple of these things. One being 28 years later. I'm getting increasingly more hyped for that. Here, let me bring him back.
Not bad, guys.
That's all good. There he is. And I was just saying, I'm really hyped about 28 years later. I think having the sequel ready to go is a good idea. However, they did mention that they don't have financing for the third film, so we really hope this first film does well. Caught Stealing I'm interested in, especially considering Darren Aronofsky's new project, which we heard about, the Cujo remake. And I Know What You Did Last Summer, also showing footage. That has a built-in fan base. That's very cool. I'm interested in that. Was there anything on this list going from Resident Evil all the way down to footage that was shown that interested you?
I mean, Breadwinner starring Nate Bargatze. I never pegged him for sort of the acting type in that regard, so
Right.
I thought that just caught my eye there. Starship Troopers, we discussed. I've never seen it. Jumanji 3, technically 4, sure. I remember seeing the rumors that Jack Black might not be returning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you discussed that when I was off. But I think don't do it without him. I think that he's great in those movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be sort of a missed opportunity there. He'll probably sign on because he'll need a win after Minecraft, but we'll see there.
Yeah.
The Legend of Zelda live action, directed by Wes Ball. I mean, I've never really played the Legend of Zelda games. My chat disconnected, but I see Kylixer saying, moving on, no, we need to discuss the monstrosity.
I'll pull it up on screen.
I assume that is in relation to the Legend of Zelda movie. I've not played the games. I thought Wes Ball did a great job with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So I mean, let's not discredit that yet. But I am hesitant about it as a concept. Yes.
And if there's any need for like animation, I think that's going to be more Universal's thing because they seem to be going in through Universal and animation with Nintendo. Nintendo's what I meant to say. But Sony clearly, they're able to get the live action rights to Zelda. I say it's worth a shot. Who knows if it'll be good, but it's definitely worth a shot. Didn't Wes Ball also do Maze Runner?
Yes, he did.
So yeah,
I like those movies.
Kylixer, the Maze Runner guy is doing Zelda. Come on, give it a shot. Give it a shot.
And then as for the ones that were shown, Karate Kid Legends. Never seen any Karate Kid movie.
Whoa.
Uh-oh.
What? Nick. So I've never watched Cobra Kai, which is a continuation of Legend Karate Kid. However, the first film, amazing. I even liked the second film. The third film is pretty bad. Unfortunately, the Hilary Swank film is pretty bad. Not her fault, though. I don't love the Jaden Smith, Jackie Chan one, but it has a lot of its fans. And I've heard from everyone under the sun that Cobra Kai is amazing, and I do plan on binging it before seeing the new movie. So that's exciting. But, we'll see. Anyway, keep going. I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. I haven't seen anything with 28 years later, 28 days later. Caught Stealing, I don't really know anything about, but Darren Aronofsky, so I would be intrigued to check that out. Big Bold Beautiful Journey. That's the Margot Robbie, Colin Farrell movie? That's probably going to be trippy, so I'm down for that.
Oh,
Goat,
yes.
Steph Curry, not a big sports guy, but I like Steph Curry, so potentially there. And I Know What You Did Last Summer. I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's a slasher horror movie. It has Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar, a bunch of 90s people. They're doing a reboot a la Scream style. I believe the
Okay.
original movie was written by the writer of Scream, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, all right.
So we'll see how that
That'd be
reboot
neat.
goes. All right, hold on. We got to dive into more Zelda stuff because Kylixer is going insanity. He did say, "Did you guys hear the news? I tuned in late." If by the news you mean the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood sequel, yes. Oh, he didn't. He just followed up. The new Hunger Games got announced today. We've known about the new Hunger Games movie. That was always coming. I think they announced it with the book, if we're not mistaken. Oh, Morgan Bernard chimes in. I have seen The Karate Kid. We will fix this. Morgan, thank you. Also, I have the 4K. If we want to do a watch party, I'm down. I am down. But I gotta bring up what Kylixer said here. Legend of Zelda is one of the biggest IPs in video games ever. It should be animated. It even had an animated show. I don't like it. I can hear his voice saying, I don't like it. Listen, I get it. I get the idea of it. But, and honestly, where I'm concerned about it, Kylixer, is not even the fact that it exists. It's the fact that it's Sony. Because Sony can be hit or miss when it comes to big IP. Now, when it's not big IP, they tend to kind of knock it out of the park. But we've seen the, Sony Venomverse, Spiderverse without Spider-Man movies. Not great, but I have strong faith in Wes Ball. I didn't think that a new Planet of the Apes movie was necessary, but he proved me wrong, and I thought that movie was really good. So I'm going to give it a shot. I understand your hesitancy, but I will give it a shot. Kylixer also brings up that there was a brief teaser today for the new Hunger Games movie, something about the Reapings, Sunrise of the Reapings. I watched it.
The Haymitch book, right? Or Haymitch movie?
Yeah. I watched the teaser. It was more of just like an announcement teaser with some dialogue. Nothing crazy. I'm looking forward to the movie, though. I think it'll be good. And let's see. Hannah also pointed out they announced the other Hunger Games movie when they announced the book last year. That is correct. That is when they brought that up.
I also have a comment here. When I lost it, Kylixer also said, yes, the critical successes that are Maze Runner, they were all profitable.
That is true.
Every single one made roughly like 4 or 5 times its production budget, which is profitability. Now, maybe not critical acclaim, but I like them and they made money because all those movies were cheap.
Yeah.
Relatively.
And even with the critical success, like none of them had like horrific critical scores. I mean, they weren't great, but they weren't like, it's not like they were pumping out Madam Webs, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd have to look and see if they were all rotten. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes made 2.5, just barely scorched by there. So I mean, he's on a run of profitable movies.
Yeah. Hannah brings up, is it true they're doing a reboot of The Maze Runner? That sounds right. Maybe we reported on it, but honestly, my brain, I have no clue if that's true. I can't remember at all. But yeah. Are you pulling up those critic scores?
Yeah, I'm trying to find them. My internet's being a wee bit slow again.
It'd be like that sometimes.
Maze Runner. Let's see. First, Maze Runner, 66% tomato, 68% popcorn. Not fresh, or sorry, not rotten, not certified. The Maze Runner 2. I don't remember the name. I'll be honest with you. Maze Runner: The Scorched Trials is loading currently. There, we just have. Ooh, that one actually, those were rotten. That was a 49% rotten and a 54% on the tomato meter there. And then Maze Runner Death Cure, 43%. Okay, so two out of the 3 were rotten, but they were all profitable.
Yeah, and even then, that's not like horrific Madam Web level scores.
No, yeah.
Also, here's something I want to point out from Kylixer, and then we'll move on to Spider-Man. We've made the people wait an hour for Spider-Man, but I just want to give this to Kylixer really quick because it's a good point that I love making. Kylixer says, I just don't want them to ruin my favorite series. Totally get it. Totally respect it. Here's the thing. They aren't. because nothing's happening to the series that you love. It's all still there. You can go still play that shit. You can go still watch that animated show that you love. You can do all that. All of that will be good and fine. All of it. It's not going anywhere. They're not going to come take it from you. Yes, I understand you want to see your favorite series adapted well, and if it's not, mission failed, we'll get them next time. But nothing happens to that thing that you already love. It's always there. Go play it if you want to feel the joy. I've recently started playing video games on my PS2 from when I was 7 years old just to feel something. And you know what? It's working. So guys, with that down, what do you think about the Sony Cinemacon news and their presentation, which we're going to finish up here with Spider-Man right now? Let's move on to it, Nicholas. Let's get into it. Holy shit. Do we have some Spider-Man news to cover? Not only is Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse not coming out till 2027, but on the live-action side, for the 2026 film, we have a title for that movie. And Nicholas, you did an amazing job on this PowerPoint, so let's bring it up now. Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse was originally scheduled to release last year, March 29th, 2024. It was removed from the release schedule, I think earlier this year or late last year, and its new release date is June 4th, 2027. And here's what I'll say. A lot of people owe Jeff Snyder an apology. Because if you guys remember, he had gone on basically, he reported that the Spider-Verse movie was having problems and they were going to redo a bunch of the story and it was going to get significantly delayed. And I think this was before they removed the release date the first time, or maybe they delayed it the first time. And the composer for the film, even some of the producers of the film came out and said, calm down, the story is great, everything's going great, everything's fine, everything's wonderful. 3-year delay, everything's fine. But yeah. Anyway, moving on from that, which, by the way, we got some images from Beyond Spider-Verse. Fucking check these out. Boom! My God, that looks good. And I assume that that's the Prowler, that's the other Miles that's in that other universe.
What a Prowler fit, too.
God, it looks good.
God. Great design.
Next up, we got boom! Classic image. Still looks fantastic. Another one. This is probably one of my favorite images that they released, other than the one with Gwen, which we'll get to in a second. I love this look. This could be a phone background, if you ask me.
Oh, that bright, vibrant neon. The animation just for that still is already insane.
Same for this one of Prowler. This one looks so good.
I like the sort of cosmic energy they got going on with Prowler there. I'm kind of digging it.
It does feel like that. It does. This is one of my favorites, and clearly it's not done, but I love this look. I cannot wait to get these characters back. Love these movies, but we gotta wait 2 more goddamn years to get them. Hold on, let me calculate something really quick. So from 2018...
I just want to know if we think that, do you think the wait's gonna hurt the momentum going in? Because I was hype after the second, that's a big ask between them all. But I mean, I'm also still hyped for Batman too. So
no, I think if anything, it'll help. I think if anything, what we've learned is putting out too much stuff like Star Wars. No one's excited for a new Star Wars thing anymore because there's so much Star Wars shit. When you wait 10 years, you get excited. Here's what I find interesting though. Do you want to feel old?
Yeah, I already do.
By the time Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out, it will have been 9 years since Into the Spider-Verse, meaning that if a kid was 10 years old when they saw Into the Spider-Verse, they'll be 19 when they see the third one. Oh, man. That's crazy. That's crazy wild stuff.
I'm curious what they'll do too, right? Because obviously we have I know we have the Nick Cage Spider-Man Noir TV show, but I don't think that's necessarily supposed to be a spin-off, of Spider-Man. I wonder if we're going to start getting some animated spin-offs after this go, or do you think that the effort and the hype, just the global sensation that it is, and just the time and energy, right? Do you think that they're not going to do an animated spin-off if they know they can't put it into that quality standard? I would watch a Gwen Stacy, Spider-Gwen solo movie.
I think animated TV spin-offs possible. The reason why I don't say movies, because I think the next step is getting live action Miles. I think that's their big goal. Whether it should be the goal, up for debate, but I think that's the goal. And I don't think it's coincidence, Nicholas, that this movie now releases 1 month after Secret Wars. I don't think that's
Oh.
a coincidence. Now, if we do suspect that they'll tie in somehow, maybe Secret Wars gets pushed a couple months. If they wanted to tie it together, maybe. I doubt it, but I don't think it's coincidence. I'll say that. But guys, that's not the only Spider-Verse news we got, or Spider-Man news we got, rather. We know about Spider-Man 4. Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4 now has an official title, everybody, and it is Spider-Man Brand New Day. And I'm going to be honest with you. I love the fucking font of this title. I've seen a lot of shit from it online. I love the font, personally. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm not a fan of the Brand New Day, that subtitle. I mean, it's very simple, the homecoming, that reminiscent of that, But in terms of just the actual Spider-Man logo, I love it. It's very reminiscent of like sort of the old school animated cartoons, just a little more modified, a little 3D going on. I'm a big fan of it. And I think it fits well. It's very classic, which I think is going to be good going leading into the movie, especially with where we leave him off at the end of No Way Home, right? Where it is sort of that rebirth. It's a brand new day for Spider-Man. This is the refresh and reboot of Spider-Man. I think it's good. I like it.
Yeah, no, I do too. And it looks like the Brand New Day font is the original Spider-Man font from the Home trilogy, not the subtitle font.
That's what it seems like.
That's what it looks like. It comes out July 31st, 2026. Man, before we move on, do you want to get sentimental real quick?
Yeah.
All right. I hold in my hand the ticket stub that I went to go see the 2002 Sam Raimi Spider-Man, which he did sign. Yes, it's very cool. Sorry, it's not really in focus. There we go. This came out shy of my 7th birthday? July 31st, 2026 is the day before my 30th birthday. And here I am, still fucking stoked about Spider-Man.
Some things never change.
Some things never fucking change, ever. Ever. Oh, I can't wait. But more about this movie. Oh, dude, you got the screenshot from Production Weekly in here? Look at this shit.
Oh, yeah. We did a deep dive here.
All right. Following the events of Doomsday, Peter Parker is determined to lead a normal life and focus on college, stepping back from his responsibilities as Spider-Man. However, peace is short-lived when a deadly new threat emerges, endangering his friends and forcing Peter to reconsider his promise. With stakes higher than ever, Peter Pan reluctantly returns to Spider-Man identity and finds himself teaming up with an unlikely ally to protect those he loves. And then it has in parentheses, Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man, Michael Keaton, Vulture, Robert Downey Jr., Doom, mentioned to join the cast. I wouldn't go and run with that as a news story right now, just because Production Weekly tends to not get everything right, because sometimes they put some stuff in there that are like,
well, I only thought to include this, right, because this was back in October of 24.
Oh, hold on. Turpinhead in the live chat just said old man. And I feel it every single day. Turpinhead. Thank you. Sorry, go on.
Just that it was from, October of 2024, and it does say at the end, aka Spider-Man Brand New Day. So just that was correct. I thought it was worth noting just for that validity, that happened. I think that it being following the events of Doomsday was an interesting point. One, obviously, if you look at the release date schedules, that makes sense. But as we just did a whole video about it last week, right? The Doomsday cast has been announced, some of them. And Tom Holland was noticeably missing from that first wave of casts. So, is Spider-Man 4, if it's following the events, is Spider-Man involved? Or are we just sort of watching the fallout of Doomsday just from Spider-Man's perspective? And no way in hell is Robert Downey Jr. Dr. Doom showing up in this movie. No way Marvel would allow that. No way in hell would Marvel allow that. But I would love to see Michael Keaton Vulture, who is currently trapped in the Sony universe, I guess. But I'd love to see him come back. But I just thought it was worth noting for that part that the title ended up being correct and the date and time, right, being set after Doomsday, I thought was just an interesting thing to note.
Yeah, no, I agree. And something I'm going to point out about it too. And by the way, the name is Turnip Head. I said Turpinhead because I'm not beating the I can't read allegations very well. But something
You
I
also
want to
said Peter Pan when you read the description.
I said Peter Pan
Yeah, he said Peter Pan.
instead of Peter.
Reluctantly returns.
Oh my god! Instead of Peter Parker, I said Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Jesus, if that just lets you know the day I've had, guys. Peter fucking Pan. No, but
Turnip Head is now saying bring back Morbius.
Oh, hold on, let me pull that up.
Maybe
Absolutely.
maybe we'll get a
Hold on,
Morbius cameo.
they followed up with put some respect on my name. That's genius. You're right. You deserve the respect. Anyway, quickly I want to point about Production Weekly. A couple things are possible. One, if Tom Holland is not in the movie, Doomsday, that description could have been from an old script. Because we know that the scripts be changing all the time when they got these movies going on. But if he is in the movie, then I think that we can kind of look at that description as being fairly accurate minus the people who are in it. I don't think, thinking about it now, after my initial hesitation, I don't think Doom being in... nice that you could turn it back on. I don't think that Doom being in Spider-Man 4 is a crazy possibility, considering that RDJ was in Homecoming. And he was in the first trilogy to kick it off. It wouldn't shock me if they used him to kick off the second trilogy in a different way, but I don't think he'd be a big part at all if he was.
Do you think this is going to be the brand? The first trilogy was the Home trilogy. Are we doing the Brand trilogy, the New trilogy, or the Day trilogy? My money's on Day.
Money's also on Day, but the New trilogy would be nice just because you could say, like, well, it's the New trilogy.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Spider-Man, Brand New Day, something new. No way home, far from home.
Honestly, I hope it's Day, just so there can be a movie called Spider-Man Judgment Day, just because I think that sounds cold.
well, like what we'll get into it in a moment, though, right? Is that the title is actually a Spider-Man comic, right? And I think there is. And I believe it is a follow-up to a comic run called One More Day.
This is true. I'm pulling it up right now.
Maybe they're doing it out of order. You know, maybe we're starting with Brand New Day and maybe One More Day, like, is the culmination of it. Like,
I don't know, because the whole thing with One More Day was something that happened at the end of No Way Home. So if they go backwards, it would be an interesting choice. But I also don't think that Brand New Day is going to be like a direct adaptation of Brand New Day.
No, so they could just call it One More Day down the line.
Exactly.
Got a nice ring to it.
Honestly, you know what title rings good to me? Spider-Man, Another Fucking Day. That's what I like to see. Anyway, let's dive into this. Nick, you did a great job on this PowerPoint. Out of curiosity, do you have the PowerPoint pulled up?
Yeah.
Will you do the following and read for me, considering I can't read shit right now?
Yeah, so this is just sort of a recap about Brand New Day. So following the events of One More Day, Spider-Man's marriage to Mary Jane Watson has been erased, resulting in adjustments to his own history. Spider-Man's secret identity has also been forgotten by everyone, including people who knew his identity before his public unmasking. Harry Osborn is again alive. He has been living in Europe for several years. Aunt May is alive and well and volunteers in a homeless shelter. Peter has his original mechanical web shooters, although some people vaguely recall that Spider-Man unmasked himself during the events of Civil War. They do not remember whose face was under the mask, and even if this is brought to their attention, they soon cease to worry about it. So that is sort of a vague recap also of what they've done with No Way Home. So I think you can start to see sort of where they're going, right? He's back to normal, right? He's no longer with MJ, most likely, because of the mind erasure.
Yep.
The heroes probably don't really recall him for getting that memory. Aunt May is probably still going to be dead. I feel like that's just a guarantee. And Harry Osborn is back. I think this is actually going to be the Harry Osborn introduction as opposed to that. But, you know, I think you can sort of start to see those narrative threads of where they might be going there.
The Harry Osborn thing is interesting. Before you move on, sorry. The Harry Osborn
good.
thing is interesting just because they confirmed in No Way Home that Oscorp doesn't exist. So I'd be very curious to see what an Osborn would look like without any sort of Oscorp, because I think the Osborns being rich is a core part of their character. So that would make me fascinated. And listen, if it's after Doomsday, there's a big chance this movie takes place on fucking Battleworld. So who knows? Anyway.
Yeah. This is literally, there's nothing we know, just that there's a Spider-Man with the Kant title. So we're just sort of talking about what that could be. So then that was sort of a recap of one more day, or one day more, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is sort of the core of what's going on in Brand New Day. If you want me to read that next slide.
Please, yes, go on.
So Spider-Man has not been seen for 100 days due to the implementation of the Superhuman Registration Act, which that could be probably similar to what we're seeing going on with Daredevil Born Again right now with Fisk and his vendetta against the vigilantes. In the
Mm.
meantime, Peter Parker has been residing in Aunt May's house as he searches for an affordable apartment, which at the end of No Way Home we saw him have. Feeling concerned, Peter decides to visit the Daily Bugle and is shocked to learn about the publication's severe financial trouble. Unfortunately, that stress takes a toll on J. Jonah Jameson, who suffers a heart attack. Obviously, the Daily Bugle here is an online, right, newspaper
Yep,
or
yep,
a
yep.
web series there. In light of the Bugle's financial difficulties, Robbie Robertson asks Peter to do what he can to get Spider-Man pictures that he believes would boost circulation, which convinces Peter to return to the web slinging. Robbie's finally getting on top of things as Dexter Bennett, a celebrity businessman, arrives to inform him that he's bought all of Jameson's Bugle shares and is now running operations. And after encountering supervillain Menace, Peter is concerned that Harry might have returned to his goblin glider ways, but Harry's girlfriend, Lily Hollister, provides an alibi. A lot to break down there.
Yeah.
So
So,
go ahead.
obviously, a lot of stuff's already been touched on in the MCU, like including registration, which was similar to what happened in Civil War. It's not exactly the same,
Hmm.
but with stuff going on with Fisk, as you mentioned, with Daredevil Born Again, I don't think they're cool enough to give me Fisk and Daredevil in the Spider-Man movie. But God, I would love it.
Maybe not four, but I would not be shocked if maybe in a 5 or 6.
Listen, here's what I'll say. I made the joke earlier about being 6 years old and loving Spider-Man and being 30 and still loving it. The Spider-Man animated series from the 90s would have Daredevil and Kingpin fighting Spider-Man. And man, you bring that shit back, I'm 7 years old again, buddy. Oh my God. Anyway, another great thing that you pointed out in the PowerPoint was the potential villain Menace. And you gave a bit of a brief breakdown on that. Do you mind going into that as well?
Of course. So we talked about Harry's girlfriend, Lily Hollister, who provides an alibi. Well, Lily Hollister is Menace. Little bit of a spoiler there, but
Wah, wah.
she dates Harry. She gets her powers after knocking over experimental goblin chemicals. She absorbs them into her skin and can now transform to her Menace form at will. And this is coming also off of the information that there is heavy rumor and speculation that the villain of the movie will be female. So that would
Mm.
sort of align with that as well. Mr. Negative, I believe, is also a big villain in this run as well in
Yo, that
there.
would be
So it's a
sick.
possibility for an introduction of that. We already have Feast introduced, which I think is what he's tied to. But yeah, if there's a possibility there of Menace, who could we be looking at as a casting? Did they go older and maybe they adapt that to it being Norman Osborn's wife or something, and that's why he wants to find the cure? Or could this be Sadie Sink? Maybe Sadie Sink is playing the girlfriend of Harry Osborn who gets the chemicals, or it could just be something completely different. It's worth noting as well that there is a villain in the show called, or in the comic run called Jackpot, which ends up being Mary Jane.
Hmm.
Which there was also rumors there that Sadie Sink could be playing specifically the Mary Jane Watson. So maybe she's
Yeah.
introduced as a new sort of vigilante on the street of Jackpot.
It's entirely possible. I know that in the Brand New Day comic, I believe there's a detective character as well who's also red haired. Maybe Sadie Sink could be playing that role too. There's a lot of different opportunities there. And again, this is assuming that it's going to adapt more parts of the
Be
comic
a
than I think
relatively 1-to-1, yeah.
yeah, that they actually might do. I think anything they give us regarding, I think the biggest thing they're adapting is just the fact that no one knows who he is and he's on his own again. I think that's the biggest
Yeah.
part of the adaptation. We'll see how much of it goes, because what Marvel tends to do is they give the thing the same title, but they only adapt brief story elements and kind of make it their own thing, which I'm personally a big fan of. So I'm
Yeah, like they
curious
have a
to
lot of
see how
villains
they do
already
that there.
introduced. So then coming out the gate with a goblin transformation based off of what we've seen could be interesting. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go back to some of the characters that we haven't seen, in the past there of,
Yeah.
Scorpion's still undone, Shocker's still running around, maybe Brand New Day, right? Is him trying to move on, but his past catching up with him. That's where you get like Vulture, Shocker, Scorpion, all that starting to form. That could be interesting as well.
God, if they bring back Shocker, oh, I'm so in. I love that. I love that character. But guys, What do you think of all of the incredible Spider-Man news, from Beyond the Spider-Verse getting delayed to Brand New Day getting a release date and a title? Let us know in the comments as we move on to the box office. It's about that time, as it always is. Let me bring Nicholas back in here. What up, buddy?
What up?
You missed my big box office thing. Do you want to do yours?
The box office.
Thank you. Guys, insane box office this week, considering that we got all of that shit wrong. All of it, literally. I mean, we got some movies in the top 5 right, but the placements, none of them were correct, and that's mostly because of a shocker number 1 opening. And that is, of course, A Working Man. Opened number 1 to $15.5 million in its opening weekend. Disney's Snow White dropped 66%, making $14.3 million. That is more than you'd like to see, especially for how much that movie cost and how little it opened. The Chosen, The Last Supper, ends up in 3rd place, making $11 million. The Woman in the Yard, the new horror film from Universal, made $9 million in its opening weekend. And Death of a Unicorn for A24 made $5.7 in its opening. 4 opening weekend movies made it into the top 5. That's cool to see. Coming in 6th, by the way, was Princess Mononoke in its 1,327th week. You love to see that.
Good for them.
They re-released it in 4K, so hence it made another $3.8 million, and the list goes on. Let's dive into these numbers a little bit more, shall we? A Working Man has $33 million worldwide so far on a budget of 40, so it's at 0.8 times that budget. We'll have to see how it goes regarding profitability, because it would have to make somewhat decent drops from week to week to get to that 2.5. And guys, we haven't reviewed Working Man yet, but it wasn't good.
No.
It's no Beekeeper, which was the same team, which is
They'll never make me hate you, Beekeeper.
They'll never make me hate you. But we'll have a review on the channel for that soon. Just got a bit busy. Let's see here. Snow White now has $144 million worldwide on a budget of $269.4. It's only at 0.5 times the budget. This is obviously going to be a huge money loser for Disney, which is a shame. You hate to see movies fail, but yeah, I think it'll be lucky if it gets that production budget back, so we'll see. Now, granted, unless it has a Mufasa-style coverage from these weeks on out, we'll see, but it doesn't have the Christmas holiday working for it, and it doesn't have the fact that it had a 66% drop working for it against it either. The Chosen, Last Supper Part 1 has $12 million domestic. It only opened domestic. We don't have a budget, but dude, every time they put their premieres or their finales in theaters, they do incredibly well. I'll use this opportunity to tell a quick funny story about Nick, myself, and The Chosen. So I've never told this story before. So when you work in this space, especially when you're not full-time like Nick and I are, we both work full-time and do other things full-time. We consider ourselves very lucky when we get, invited to things, get screeners, which we get through the Critics Association of Central Florida, which we're both very privileged to be a part of. I love those guys. I love that organization. But even more so, getting interviews is really, really difficult. We always try to put ourselves out there to get some press, to get some interviews, to do what we can. And it just, it's tough when, especially when we don't have the big numbers, we're not full-time. But every now and then we get one. You've seen Josh Rubin on here. You've seen John DeNicola on here. Jeffrey Giuliano on here. That interview's crazy. That's a whole nother story we could talk about. We could do a whole episode just talking about that interview. But The Chosen, we actually got invited because The Chosen did an event in Orlando. Yeah, where we live. And they actually invited us to do part of their press junket, like in person, go and do interviews for their press junket, which is very cool. And listen, I don't consider myself an ultra religious person, but regardless of that, even by people who aren't religious, I've heard The Chosen is actually quite good. A lot of the religious movies you see are just not very good and they pander to their audience. I've actually heard quite good things about The Chosen. And honestly, had the scheduling worked out, I would have taken the opportunity. I would have done it. But unfortunately, we couldn't. And so I emailed the people back, and they were very nice. And I just said, hey, guys, I'm really sorry. I'm not going to be in town for this. But, I really appreciate you reaching out. If you ever come back, reach out to us again. And they responded. They were super great. They were like, hey, thank you. No problem. However, I don't think they wanted me interviewing people in there because of the piece of shit person I am. I would have walked into this thing based on stories from the Bible, and my first question to the writing team was going to be, so did you feel pressured to stay close to the source material and just kind of watch what happened? They would have asked me to leave. I think there's no situation where they don't ask me to leave at that junket. And another thing that was daunting is even if I could go, I would have to be a good journalist and fully catch up on The Chosen to do it properly. And there was so much that I was like, because I haven't seen any of it. And I was like, geez, that would be a lot. But yeah, anyway, brief tangent story. Going back into the box office here. The Woman in the Yard has $10 million domestic. I don't have a budget here, but I don't imagine it was that expensive from what I've seen in the trailer. There's only like 2 or 3 locations. So, we'll see how that goes. Yeah, we'll see how that goes regarding profitability, especially if I get more budget information later. Death of a Unicorn now has $5.7 million domestically, and you can find our review for that on the channel. I actually really enjoyed this film. Nick did as well. That review's on the channel.
Apparently, we're in the minority, though, looking at Letterboxd and IMDb and Rotten, all those things. It was interesting.
What's the Letterboxd at now?
I think the Letterboxd is averaged at about a 3. I think from last I saw.
That's not too bad.
But just people that I follow, the curves. Like I've seen some 1.5s, a lot of 2s.
That surprises me. And what really surprises me is a lot of people in those are saying like, "Oh, the humor didn't work." I thought the humor was the best fucking part of the movie. I thought the humor
worked really well for me. I was a big fan of it.
But anyway, it was made on a budget of $15 million, relatively small. However, it's only just under half of the production budget has been made so far, so it has some room, it has some places to go before it can get profitable, but I think that spend was actually pretty financially reasonable. A24 tends to do that anyway. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to discuss here. Let's look at Captain America real quick. 408, we knew that it crossed 400 million last week. Black Bag has made 31. Let's see. I'm going to try to see Black Bag tomorrow, actually. Yeah, no, I'm pretty satisfied. Nicholas, last thing, of course, as always, before we go, let's do our predictions for the box office next week. You're going first. What do you got?
Minecraft movies coming out?
Yep.
Is that what we're dealing with?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, that's a tough one. Let's see. Working Man made 15. I'm going to go Minecraft movie number 1. Call me optimistic.
No, Nick, I think this movie is going to make a lot of money.
Oh, I believe it. Is anything else trying to go out against it? Do you know?
Let me see. We Love Dead Air. Let me just pull it up.
Pending that, I'm going to go Snow White number 2.
Okay.
I'm going to go Working Man number 3. I'm going to go... Ooh. I'm going to go... Do you think Fathom Event? So Chosen won't be in this next week, right?
Probably not.
Is that a safe? I'm going to go Death of a Unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go Woman in the Yard.
Okay. Hell of a Summer and Freaky Tales come out, but I don't think they're going to make a dent in the actual top 5.
Yeah, but Woman in the Yard's at 9. You don't think Hell of a Summer can get over 5?
No, I don't know how wide it's releasing, to be honest with you. And
all right, I'm
Woman in the Yard's universal.
So I am going Minecraft, Snow White, Working Man, Death of a Unicorn, Woman in the Yard.
All right, I'm going to go Minecraft, Working Man, Snow White, Woman in the Yard, Death of a Unicorn.
Working Man, Snow White, Woman in the Yard, Death of a Unicorn?
Yeah.
All right. It is locked. It is set.
I think that's where we're at. Guys,
so it has written, so it shall be.
Yes, guys. It was so much fun to interact with you guys in the live chat and have this really long, almost hour and a half long show. Holy shit. A lot to talk about. Guys, Friday show is also going to be packed because we have so much to go. The Warner Brothers presentation just started, actually. So we'll have all of those updates for the Friday show and the Disney updates from Thursday night. So come back Friday at around 6:30, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Follow our social medias to be caught up as to when we'll be going live. This was a lot of fun, like I said. Also tonight, if you've been following along with the live spoiler discussions of Daredevil Born Again, going live tonight to discuss episode 7, which, guys, I've seen the whole season. Some shit goes down in this episode that I think some fans might actually not love, but we'll see. I liked it personally, but we'll see what happens. It's going to be a lot of fun with that. And Nicholas, any other housekeeping things to add?
As always, links to our social medias can be found in the description, as well as link to all the articles and the sources, and links to the audio-only version of the show if you want to hear our voices but not see our faces.
Which is understandable, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, with that, pleasure as always. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.